The magician from outside of Riga, otherwise known as Rashid Nehzmedinov. This game is going to be against Oleg Chernikov. Maybe you guys have seen this game before because it's one of his more popular ones, but hopefully I'm going to review lines that you haven't seen before. I think I will. I tend to do that. So, Nehzmedinov, strongest non-GM ever in history. He was an IM. He had an absolutely beautiful playing style, a positive record against Tal. He out-Tal when he played Tal. Kind of a tongue twister. Now, this game, let's get into it. Crazy queen sacrifice. I think this game is in running with the game of the century. Maybe not in accuracy, but definitely in beauty. So we get an open Sicilian, main line, not the main line anymore, and bishop to c4, a move, right? That's opening theory for you. Okay, bishop to b3. Fischer liked playing like this. Basically, it gets out of the way of b5 coming with a tempo. So you're going to need to play it regardless. May as well play it now and retain flexibility. If they strike in the flank, strike in the center. That is a chess principle. Chernikov should not have played knight g4 against Rashid, but thankfully he did because we got this game, this absolute gem. There's many ways to play this. You can go a6, a5, you could go queen a7, that's c7, you could go d6, you could do anything under the sun. Knight to g4 is an aggressive line. White's best move is to take the knight and lose this knight. It would not be great to take this knight, even though it's semi-playable, not because of d takes, even though that's okay, but because of knight takes bishop. You don't want double isolated pawns. You'd go into a weird line where black is slightly better. But okay, we get queen takes g4, knight takes d4, and queen to h4. I think they were still in their prep, even back then. This game was played in 1962, by the way. Also, he played one tournament in his life out of the Soviet Union in Bucharest in 1954. He scored second behind Viktor Korchnoi, and he got his IM title there. I think we should give him an honorary GM title, because, I mean, well, you'll see this game. By the way, do not take on e7. Even though it looks bad, why is it bad? Well, we would get knight takes c2, bishop takes c3, and bad things will happen to white, like his king moving and losing the material back. So we get castles, bishop to f6, a great move. Now, if queen h6, maybe it'll be a draw. If queen h3, probably won't be a draw because black will be better. Queen to g3 is also a move, but then black has tactics like this where you're going to enter probably down a pawn or with a worse structure, both of which are bad. So what did Rashid play over here? Obviously, queen takes bishop, right? And this is, I mean, just amazing positional understanding. There's only one move for black to play where he stands ever so slightly better, but I'm going to say it's equal. And it's not taking the queen. Because if queen takes, white's position literally just plays itself. You have two minor pieces for the queen, but the queen is doing nothing. The king is very weak, and none of black's pieces can really get into the game. So black does play the best move. It is a deflection. It is knight e2. And basically it's saying, hey, your knight's not going to come to d5. I'm going to deflect your knight away. And then you have to go back. And I gained a tempo, which is true. Okay, I don't like black's next move. I think he should have either pushed the pawn or brought the queen back to safety. The reason I don't like this move is because it doesn't actually tie the knight down to the pawn, because then you would run into tactics like this. So it's almost like white gains the tempo back. Okay, we get rook to e6. Never guard your pawns from the side. I mean, I'm not going to say never, but it's just gross and inactive and passive and all those bad words. So, okay, we get two attackers here on f6. Black adds a defender. And how do you build more pressure over here? You could push the f-pawn, or you could use the piece that you're not using. So we get boom, 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 attack. So that is what happens. Black is trying to get his pieces into the game. You could take and rook takes and then exploit the pin. But you could also not take and maintain the pressure because people mess up when there's a lot of pressure on the board. It is chess at the end of the day. Now we get bishop to b5. So some candidate moves are c4, which is okay, but it blocks in the bishop. You could also take because that rook is kind of irrelevant. And you could also play what he did, which is bishop to c3, forcing the queen back to d8. Now we get knight takes f6. If black took the rook, You don't need to take back right away. I think rook to d1 would be the best move because there's no need to. Now you can cash out, and you see it is not an opposite color bishop endgame. And if you do some quick math, you'll see that you're up 2 pawns. So you should win that every day of the week. Okay, but instead we get bishop to e2, which on its face makes sense, right? This rook is irrelevant. This rook is very much relevant, so he's coming after the relevant rook. But he missed a brilliant move. That is knight takes h7. See, boom, brilliant. Why is it brilliant, though? Well, if king takes knight, we get rook takes f7 check. The king would have to go to h6. White would pick up a rook. Black would also pick up a rook. You can go check. And basically, this king's just going to get mated. Or you're going to win the queen and be up a whole piece and some pawns. So that would not be good for black. So instead we get king g8, because at the end of the day, he was in check. And okay, knight f6 is the best move. But he went rook h3. Understandable, going for mate. Black is forced to play this ugly looking move, rook to e5. And now you try to get the rook to move. For the life of me, I don't know why he didn't go rook h5. I guess he got greedy and didn't want to cash out the material. And granted, it still looks very scary. But he got greedy. Don't get greedy. In life, it is a cardinal sin. Okay, take the bishop. Don't take the rook because the rook is not so important. You can always win it like that. And then have an attack going. Rook to c8. Why? Well, he wants to take this bishop. Because this bishop is like 5 million times better than that rook. So don't let the rook take the bishop. Makes sense. Pawn to b5. I believe he wanted to go rook c4 and restrict the vision of these bishops. You know you're doing well if they're trying to sack their rooks for your bishops, right? That's kind of how you know you got control of the game. Okay, knight to g5, adding pressure on f7, but all the more now is checkmate if that rook moves. So we got rook c7, and I really like what Rashid did here. He just converted it, simplified it to a technical win, right? Why not? And that technical win begins with bishop takes f7. Now the rook has to take, and what do we play here? Only one winning move. Rook to h8, another deflection tactic. You see, because now when the king, if the king doesn't take, you win the queen for free. So when the king takes, you get a fork, you win the queen. Yes, black wins a couple of pawns, but then he just resigns. Because a bishop and a knight alone are better than a rook. And not only that, you have an extra pawn. And not only that, your pawn structure is perfect in comparison to black's, which is very much so imperfect. So understandable why he resigned. He was like, I had enough. But a beautiful game. Honestly, if my opponent beat me like this, I would be like, thank you. You are brilliant. So I believe tomorrow we're going to do an Emery take game because someone commented on the last video. Comment who you want to see next. Thank you guys for your time. Thank you as always for watching. Have a great day. Boom.